Hey guys, Anna Brooks here. How you doing? And before I get started, you need to check out this new hair color that I've got going on. It's incredible. I literally just came from the hairdressers, which for some people may be, chill out and read all the latest or the not so latest gossip mags. But for me, it was literally like 2 hours of frantic typing. I was so in the zone. It was crazy. Luckily, my hairdresser doesn't take it personally. She knows that that's just how I operate. So anyway, so it was incredible. I got so much stuff done. I'm pretty excited, actually. What I was having a think about, and this is something that I've kind of been thinking about for a while. Like, it's just a recurring thought for me. And recently I kind of started to think a little bit more. I got a bit of a, I guess, I don't know, kind of some feedback, I guess. It's just some stuff that I was doing through journaling that I just got this feedback from within myself that just said, Anna, you have to start talking more about this, because I think it's one of those things that I kind of forget after a while, even though it used to be so obvious to me that most people don't focus on this, right? And this is what I want to talk about today, which is what the live stream topic is, right? So are you with your soulmate or your detour? And it was kind of a little bit of what my blog was about today, which will go up later. I need to actually get that all uploaded and everything, which is fine. But it wasn't directly what the blog was about. The blog's a little bit different. It's more about your life in general, whereas today's stream is more so directly about love and about finding your soulmate. And for a very, very long time, for anyone who's known me, when I grew up when I was growing up, I hated the idea of marriage. Absolutely hated it. I thought it was horrible. I didn't have a great example in my parents because even though they were married all the way until I finished high school, it was not a happy marriage by any means. And I don't think I've spoken too much about it, but there was not some great times in my childhood in terms of my dad and his depression and being quite abusive and that kind of stuff. So because of that, it was not a happy marriage by any means, even though they stayed together for that long. And so I never really had an idea that a marriage was a great thing. And so I never grew up thinking that this was one of those things that I want, right? I didn't dream about my wedding. I didn't dream about my husband, about the perfect day and all this kind of stuff and settling down and having babies and all that kind of thing. It wasn't in my realm of what I wanted, because I didn't believe that it was going to be, well, for starters, I thought there was more to life than that, and I still do. But B, I just really didn't believe that marriage really meant anything, to be honest. And I guess, and in some ways, I'm going to agree, I still think it really doesn't. I think that it's a piece of paper that unfortunately is, at the moment, still in Australia, only allowed between certain people. And even though, good mates of mine happen to be both male or happen to be both female, they're not allowed to get married, which I think is absolute bullshit, because it's not really up to anyone else to decide who loves who, and they're not hurting anyone. So what's it, what makes you better than someone else to decide whether they should be allowed to have the same rights as you? Whatever. But anyway, that's not what this stream is about, yeah? However, I did only decide that I really like this idea of being married when I met my husband. Well, when I met who is my husband now, was my boyfriend at the time, obviously. And what changed was I met my soulmate. Like, I'm not going to go into the full story. There's a few blogs on my page about how we met and all that kind of stuff. But the long story short of it is that it truly was love at first sight. We fell in love the night we met. We met on a internet website of all things, on oasis.com, I think it was. And we literally met and fell in love that exact night. And it's been just more and more since then, right? And it's been incredible. And I didn't believe that kind of love existed until I met him. Having said that, I did believe that is the only way I would ever be with anyone again, because I have been in many relationships in the past, some fantastic, some not so fantastic, some absolute giant messes of relationships, right? As we've all had. Well, most of us have had, right? So I've been in all of those positions, but I've never been in a relationship where I felt so much like I do with my husband now, Matt, that I can just be me 100%. And this has only become really, really clear to me even more so. I was clear on it before, but ever since going into business for myself and in developing what I do now and being online and developing me as a brand and all that kind of stuff, it's only really been since then that I've realized, I guess, to the extent of how lucky I am, because I see so many people in a similar position to me who also have a message to share, who have a way that they want to impact and change the world and impact people's lives and help them and guide them and get them to create their best life and to live life on purpose and create a lifestyle completely based on their terms or similar, whatever it is that you're called to message and what you're called to talk about and what you're called to do to impact the world. People in a similar position to me who have partners who just don't get it, who just don't get them, for starters. They don't get how hard it is. They don't get why you have to do it regardless how hard it is. And they're not really ready to support you. And I know that there's a lot of people in this position because, I've read about them, I've talked to them, I've, watched their live streams, all that kind of stuff. And I've kind of kept quiet about it for now. But I kind of feel like I can't anymore because it's so obvious to me that it feels like it's one of those things that, well, this is my message. This is what I'm meant to be getting out to people, is that it's not good enough. Is this your soulmate or is this your detour? Because sooner or later, they're either going to have to get on board with who you are and what you're doing and what you want in life, or you're going to grow apart. It's just that simple. Like, I don't understand how someone can think that they're going to be with someone forever and ever and ever, and this person doesn't 100% get them, support them, live and breathe what they want to do. I don't mean in terms of having to do the same stuff. Not at all. My husband is not remotely interested in the stuff that I do, right? It's not his passion. He has his own passions. He has his own life and career and message and what he needs to do to get the most out of his life, right? But he 100% gets me. There is, from the very beginning, no matter what I've asked for, no matter what I've said, I have to do this, I have to do this, whether it's been a financial commitment, whether it's been a time commitment, all that kind of stuff, whatever comes with what I do and what we do as entrepreneurs and as business builders and business owners, he's been 100% on board. He has never, ever tried to talk me out of it. Not that he could. And that's the sign of someone who really knows what they're doing, is that you couldn't get talked out of it even if they tried. But he has never, ever tried to talk me out of it. He has never tried to diminish what I'm doing. He's never tried to tell me to grow up, to get real, to get a real job, to, all that kind of stuff. It just hasn't happened. And so, and it kind of just hit me that this should not be, I should not feel so lucky for this. A, because I manifested what I've got in this relationship and I've worked really, really hard for it. But B, because this should be the norm. It drives me insane when people talk about their relationship and, refer it to things like, oh, the old ball and chain, or, oh, yeah, look, we're not, we have issues and we kind of get through them and, oh, yeah, it's not really great and she doesn't really get me or he doesn't really get me and she won't do this for me, he won't do this for me, all that kind of stuff. But that's marriage, that's life. No, it's not. That's fucking bullshit. I'm sorry, but it really is. If you have seriously lowered your standards to the point that you think it's normal that your partner doesn't care about how you feel, or that you don't care about how they feel and what they want and what their life dreams and goals are, and if you're even heading in the same direction, that's bullshit. That's not normal. Just because society has told you that marriage should be hard and things should be tough and you should fight and you should have all this, that it's not always roses and daisies. Yeah, fair enough. It's not. Yeah. But you know what? The stuff that's not roses and daisies, that should be the stuff that you're working through together. So my husband and I had probably one of our toughest years this year, for a number of different reasons, right? And they were things that happened. I mentioned earlier this year, my dad killed himself. That was one of the things. And very soon after, we got a notice to vacate through no fault of our own. It was just purely the owner wanted to sell the property, right? And And then I got a bit of a health scare as well on top of all of that. And this happened in a very short space of time. And it was really, really tough. It was probably one of the toughest few months that we've ever had together. But at no point did this become an issue for us. At no point did this become a relationship issue or a how do we get through this, or my husband doesn't really get it, or, I mean, fuck, I've never had my dad kill himself before, and Matt sure as hell has never had to help his wife through that position, right? So neither of us knew what the hell we were doing. It didn't matter though, because we get each other and we're there for each other and we support each other 100% regardless, to the point that it doesn't matter if we don't know how to do it, we will just find a way. And it's the same in business, it's the same in your career, it's the same in your health and fitness. It doesn't fucking matter if you don't know what you're doing, if you don't know how you're going to do it, if you don't even know the first thing about how to get through this, because there's a lot of things in life that are going to happen that you're not going to know the first thing about how to deal with this. You just do. You just know that you're going to, and you just know that you're going to do it together, most importantly, right? And so this is one of those things that I feel so passionately about, because when I met Matt, I had been out of a relationship that I had ended because of, not because it was a horrible relationship by any means, but because it wasn't everything. It wasn't absolutely at my core, my soulmate, me knowing that this person is completely aligned to me and will be regardless how we both grow, how we both change, whatever we decide to do, we will do it together and we will find a way to make it work. And I think one of the things I always try and get across to people when they're trying to decide what their relationship's going to be like, whether to stay, whether to go, what to do, the thing I always say is, I want you to think about when you have a conflict, when you have an issue, do you guys approach it in the terms of, well, is this going to break us or not? Or is your first instinct, for both of you, not just for you, because I'm talking, this needs to be a partnership, 100%. But is your first thought, is this going to break us? Is this going to be it? Or is your first thought, how do we get through this so that we get even stronger? And if your first thought is even close to, could this be the end for us? You're not in it. You're not in. And neither are they, if that's what they're thinking as well. If they are even considering walking away, if you're even considering walking away, you're not in it, because it's either in it for life or not. It's not one or the other. It's not somewhere in the middle. It is one or the other. I'm not saying that doesn't change. Things absolutely can change. And you are the reason that they will change. You will choose different things and you will choose for things to change. And that's fine. But don't ever get stuck, once again, like I always say, in this situation where you're letting life just happen to you, where you're letting a relationship just happen to you, you're not happy, you're letting it kind of just continue on because you think that, well, that's just how it's meant to be. Marriage isn't meant to be awesome. It's meant to be tough. You're meant to be always, arguing, or this is meant to be difficult, or this is meant to be difficult. No, whatever you're choosing as your reality is what you're making it. So if you're choosing that your reality is going to be difficult, it is. If that's your new standard, if that's what you accept in a relationship, then hell yeah, you're going to get it. As soon as you flip that on its side though and go, no, my new relationship goal and my new relationship, no, standard, not goal, standard, is that it has to be fucking awesome. This person has to get me. This person has to love me and support me regardless, and not talk me out of whatever it is that my goals and dreams are, because then they're basically talking me out of myself. Then they don't get you. So why are you staying in this relationship? And like I said, I haven't said anything about this for a while before, because I know it upsets a lot of people, and probably even people that I know, or maybe even you, if you're watching this, right? That to say that, hey, look, whatever you've got going on, it's not working. Sorry, it's subpar. It's subpar compared to what you could have, compared to the love that you could have. And I'm not saying that you can't have it with that particular person, for sure. I 100% believe that when you commit yourself to something and you choose to make it work, you can make it work. Yes, of course, in a relationship, you need the other person on board with that. That tends to help. But I do absolutely believe that, and you know that. However, at some point, sometimes you just have to realize that you just set yourself a low standard. You just set yourself, I don't know, it may have been a while ago. You may be, I don't know, whoever, whatever your age is, whatever life stage you're in. It might have been a while ago. Things were different generations ago. People didn't get married for the same reason they do now. The divorce rate wasn't what it is now. People now, in the blink of an eye, will move on. But some people who should move on, who should go and set their new standards and look for something better and look for someone more aligned to them, won't. And this really, really upsets me, because it's one of those things that having that kind of love, having that kind of connection, having that person who is just your equal, your absolute heart and soul, that when you look at, you cannot imagine a life without them. You can no longer imagine you without them. And not because you need them, but because you want them so much, because your soul wants them, because you just know that when you're around them, you're yourself. You're 100% yourself, and you never have to filter yourself. That's a really big thing. I have filtered myself for most of my life. Not many, probably not the last, about five and a bit years since I've been with Matt. And even a bit before that, really, because that was how I met Matt, is because I unfiltered myself and just went, this is what I want, bring it to me, basically. And he arrived. Shock horror. But when you're filtering yourself, whether it's in your other relationships, your main relationship, whether it's in your friendships, when it's whatever it is, even for me, this, right? So being online, being live streaming, this kind of stuff. This used to be very filtered, not these live streams, but when I used to, if you've ever gone onto my YouTube channel from a few years ago, oh my God, it was, it was like I used to redo those particular things probably 10 times before I was happy with them, and they're not great. Like, these live streams are better now, and these are live, and I don't redo them. And it's purely because it is completely unfiltered, and therefore I know that the people that you are coming to me and you know what I'm talking about, and you're being basically called to come and see what I'm talking about and see what's going on, because you can connect with it. Whereas as soon as I start filtering, as soon as I start putting labels on it and trying to change it and trying to make it prettier or different or just filtered, basically, I'm not gonna be talking to you anymore. I'm going to be talking to someone else who has different alignment, who has a different goal, and basically that I'm pretending to be able to connect with them, right? So I struggle, I guess, at getting to the point to say, maybe you need to get out of your relationship because obviously I don't know your relationship at all. I don't know. This is purely, though, my thoughts based on what I've been through, and you know whether this applies to you or not. Pretty simply, that's kind of the bottom of it. Yes, the bottom of it is that you know if this applies to you or not. You will be able to tell straight away if I talk about, like if you just go back those last couple of minutes when I was talking about how I feel when I'm around Matt, how I feel around my husband and the kind of relationship that we have, you know if you've got that or not. That's, that's in your heart. You already know that. You don't need someone else to tell you that. What I am here to tell you is if you don't have that and you believe that it doesn't exist, it does. That's what I'm telling you, is that it absolutely does. And you do not need to settle for this, because this is your life. If they are not aligned with you, if you are trying to go through the journey of your life, creating a life on your terms, oh, my phone's going to die soon, so I'll have to finish this up. If you're going to go through this and create a life based on you, based on your terms, live life on purpose, 100% unfiltered, what you want and what you need to achieve, if you have someone who doesn't support that, who doesn't like that, and who wants you to change, how are you going to go through an entire life with them? And what are you going to think when you do get to the end of your life and you look back and you wonder, did I actually give up on someone who was my soulmate, who I could have met and who I could have had an incredible journey with, who would have pushed me to be the best version of myself ever, rather than shutting down the truth, shutting down the true you, right? I don't care where you're at. I don't care what kind of a mess it would be to leave it all now. I don't care how many kids you have, how financially intertwined things are. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. When you make the choice that you're going to get something better, it will be better. I'm not saying it's not going to be a mess. I'm not saying it's not going to be tough. This is obviously assuming you leave the relationship, as opposed to the two of you actually step up and create the kind of relationship that you want. But if you do, I'm not saying it's not going to be hard. I'm not saying it's not going to be messy. But you know what? Growth and awesomeness and basically stepping up and getting everything that you deserve in this life and that you want and that you need in your heart of hearts, it's never going to be easy. It's a question of consequence. Do you want your consequences now or do you want them later? Like, you can deal with them now and then spend the rest of your life having an absolutely incredible aligned life with relationships that make you so, so happy, with people that make you so happy, with a life partner or a soulmate that actually fulfills you 100%, and that you don't ever have to filter with, the old ball and chain or some crap like that. Or you can just deal with the consequences later. So you can deal with them on your deathbed when you suddenly realize where you got to and where you could have gotten instead and who you could have spent that time with. If there's one takeaway point I want you to get, is that if you're in that position, it is possible. It is possible to meet someone like that. It does exist, and I do believe that it is possible for everyone. But you need to go all in. You need to go absolutely all in. When I manifested and attracted my husband to me, and I do believe it was an energetic shift for me that got that happening. When that happened, it was because I was done. I flat out told the universe over and over and over that if you do not bring me my soulmate, the person who is just so 100% for me that I can't even second guess it for a second, like, I want you to prove it to me, basically, universe. If you can't bring me that person, don't bother. I will happily be single for the rest of my life. And I meant it. I like that. That wasn't just words to me. It didn't even matter what I said. It was what I felt. And the fact that that was absolutely 100% in my soul. And no joke, when I met Matt, the universe proved it to me. Like, aside from the fact that we actually clicked and fell in love the first night we met, like, I'll have to tell you the story another time. It's pretty epic. It's like the epic love story of all love stories among all of my friends and family, right? But the universe literally proved it to me. Like, we sat down and we started talking about hobbies and interests and little things. And it was like the universe was trying to prove a point. It was just one thing after another of just little stuff like, do you love horror movies? Oh my God, I love horror movies. And it was just point after point after point of everything that I had actually a while back, I sat down and wrote down, like, all the big things that I need in a relationship, like trust and honesty and all that kind of stuff. But then, like, I got really funny and just started writing all these little crappy things. Like, yeah, like someone who enjoys horror movies as much as I do. And I can't even think of it now. But there was just heaps of like little tiny random things. And I was like, yeah, universe, come on, bring it. I want you to show me this absolute 100% person. And it did. And that part was just kind of, I think, a tongue in cheek, the universe just being like, all right, well, you were serious, so I got serious, whatever. But the rest of it was legitimately because that was energetically what I put out there, that I would not settle for less and I would happily die alone than settle for less. If you want that, you're going to have to put the same kind of energy out there. And it's a scary amount of energy. It's a scary shift to say, put it out there that it's all or nothing. I want the best or nothing. But you know what? When you refuse to settle for anything less than the best, you will very often get it. Okay? I'm going to leave it there. I hope you guys have a great night. And if you have any questions, any thoughts about this, I am actually thinking of doing a bit of a relationship overhaul kind of program. I haven't really decided on it yet. Thinking towards the start of next year. So if that interests you, let me know. Pop a comment in there. I'd like to know whether this is something that interests you guys and whether this live stream has sort of hinted at something or just kind of gotten you thinking a little bit, whether it's about you or whether it's about someone you know. Yeah, let me know any thoughts you have. I will talk to you guys soon. Have a great night. Bye.